Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're trying something a little unique. Instead of just one document, our mission is really to unpack the stack of top global headlines from August 6th, 2025. Think of it as, your shortcut to getting up to speed on the really important stuff.
Yeah, and there's real value in looking at it this way. When you see this broad range of events together, patterns start to emerge, connections you might otherwise miss. It really helps build, I think, a more critical view of what's happening globally.
That's a great point, finding those connections. And we've got quite a mix today. Everything from, well, serious natural disasters to market shifts and even some surprising human interest bits. So as we dig in, maybe ask yourself, what here catches your eye? What's shaping things that maybe flew under your radar? Okay, let's jump in. First up, some really tough news out of India. The Uttarakhand region was hit by flash floods on August 6th. Initial reports? Pretty grim. At least 5 dead and over 50 people missing.
Yeah, devastating. And the cause. They're thinking maybe a cloudburst or possibly a glacial lake outburst. Still clarifying. These kinds of events in those high-altitude areas, they're incredibly serious. Rescue ops are underway, obviously, full tilt.
And the environmental factors there are often so complex, right? Especially with glacial melt being a background issue.
Exactly. It underscores these huge challenges, often linked to, well, broader climate patterns. Significant media attention, too, which reflects the gravity.
Okay, let's shift focus to the U.S., a domestic incident, but a serious one. A mass shooting reported at Fort Stewart in Georgia. An active duty sergeant apparently opened fire.
Yes, 5 soldiers were injured in that. Thankfully, the reports say they're all expected to recover.
That's good news amidst the bad.
And there's a crucial detail here, something quite remarkable. The shooter was actually stopped, subdued, when another soldier tackled him.
Wow.
Yeah, just incredible bravery. That immediate direct action made a huge difference. Quick resolution and a terrifying situation.
Definitely highlights that courage. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the financial world. U.S. stock futures were edging up. What's behind that?
Well, a lot of it seems to be optimism about a potential Fed rate cut. The hope that the central bank might lower interest rates soon.
Right. The market loves that idea.
It does. But there's nuance here, too. Corporate earnings have been a mixed bag. You saw AMD and Supermicro slip a bit, for example. And investors are kind of holding their breath for big reports like Disney and Uber.
So the big picture hope is outweighing some of the specific company news, at least for now.
Exactly. It shows how those macro expectations, like a potential rate cut, can really drive short-term market sentiment, sometimes even more than individual company performance.
Makes sense. Okay, sticking with global economics, but shifting focus. China, they've extended a probe into imported beef. What are the implications there?
Right, so the extension is for 3 months. And maybe counterintuitively, this actually offers a bit of temporary relief, gives exporters some breathing room, instead of an immediate decision or restriction.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily bad news in the short term.
Not entirely. It delays the uncertainty, but it also keeps the issue alive. You could see it as a sort of subtle diplomatic lever, too. These probes aren't always just about the product itself.
Got it. Okay, let's look at U.S. policy and tech now. 2 things from PBS NewsHour. First, the health secretary is pulling back some significant pandemic-era vaccine funding.
That signals a pretty clear policy shift, right? Moving away from that emergency footing on pandemic response, kind of integrating it more into regular public health operations.
And the second point was about AI, something about bridging political divides.
Yeah, exactly. A discussion about whether AI, which, let's face it, is often seen as divisive or disruptive, whether it could actually be used, potentially, to foster dialogue or understanding across political lines.
That's an interesting thought. Kind of counterintuitive.
It is. It raises big questions about technology's role in society, not just disruption, but maybe, possibly, reconciliation or bridge building. It's a provocative idea.
Definitely something to chew on. Now, let's shift to something really positive. A Northeastern University student, Abigail Prasad Shetty, a creative writing student. She won a major Guyanese literary prize for her young adult novel, Got It Right, from the Prime Minister.
That's fantastic news. And it's more than just an individual achievement, right?
Yeah.
It really highlights, I think, how diverse voices and stories, like in YA literature, are getting more global recognition. It's cultural exchange happening through these platforms. Great to see.
Absolutely. Okay, hopping over to Canada now, a legal situation. An ER doctor's whistleblower lawsuit is being challenged by Fraser Health. What's the issue?
The core issue is jurisdiction. Trade Your Health is basically arguing that this case shouldn't be in court. They're saying it belongs in internal arbitration instead.
So it's about where the dispute gets resolved.
Precisely. It raises those important questions about accountability and transparency when whistleblowers step forward, especially in big systems like healthcare. Internal process versus public court scrutiny.
Right. Okay, back to the markets, but looking at Asia this time. Asian markets rallied. What was driving that? Is it connected to the U.S. picture?
Oh, very connected. It ties right back to that weaker U.S. jobs data we sort of touched on earlier. That data pushed the odds of a U.S. rate cut way up, like to 94%, according to some estimates.
Oh, wow, that high.
Yeah, astonishingly high. And here's where it gets interesting. That weaker U.S. jobs number, normally maybe seen as a negative, became a huge positive for markets because it fueled those rate cut hopes so strongly. So Asian shares got a boost, the yen strengthened, even with other worries like tariffs lingering.
Fascinating how that psychology works. Bad news is good news sometimes.
Exactly. Market perception is key.
Okay, nearly there. Let's talk energy. OPEC Plus and oil prices.
Right. OPEC Plus, that group of major oil producers, they confirmed a planned output increase, about 2.5 million barrels per day. And that's helping to stabilize global oil prices.
How so?
Well, it directly eases fears about potential supply disruptions, particularly concerning Russia. With that extra supply coming online, it calms the market's nerves about shortages, a deliberate move towards stability.
Okay, so lots of specific stories today, but was there a sort of overarching theme you saw across the wires?
Yeah, definitely. If you zoom out, you see these recurring undercurrents mentioned across different reports. Things like ongoing trade tensions, revisions to economic data that shift sentiment, and just generally tight policy headlines, all consistently influencing how markets and global actors are behaving. It's the backdrop to almost everything we discussed.
Wow. Okay, that was quite the tour through just one day's headlines. It really is striking how interconnected everything is when you lay it out like this. From floods in India to market psychology driven by U.S. data, it's powerful to grasp these details quickly.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway for you, listening, might be this. While those individual headlines grab the immediate attention, the bigger story often involves these underlying forces. Economic pressures, geopolitical moves, that constant dance between policy decisions and market reactions. Understanding those different layers helps you see the why behind what's happening now.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. As you go through your week, how might understanding these diverse global threads, from a literary prize in Guyana all the way to an OPEC Plus oil decision, how might that change the way you see the next news story? Or maybe even how you approach your own plans and decisions? Something to think about. Keep exploring that global tapestry.